Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at that. The United States Postal Service was good to malcontent today. I took a special trip to the post office to get this. That is an original Kent Manufacturing golf club cover from sometime in the mid 1970s, featuring the original version of a somewhat iconic graphic that any and all Devo fans will recognize, or anybody who's ever casually browsed the new wave section of their local record store. Yes, that's where it came from. Golf clubs, golf products, tees, head covers, hole markers, whatever Kent Manufacturing in Ohio was making in the mid 70s that had the Chichi Rodriguez trademark on it, logo, mascot, whatever you want to call it. That is where a couple of dudes from Kent named Jerry Casale and Bob Lewis got the inspiration from. That's it, from Kent, Ohio. So that came in the mail today, and that tunes in and turns on and dovetails perfectly with tonight's episode of Tent Talks Tunes. You can also see by the backdrop here, I've got a little something cooked up. It's kind of amazing to think that I've been doing Tent Talks Tunes for people like Per out there in Sweden. Hello. I've been doing this for almost a year, and I've yet to devote, ha ha ha, get it? Devote an episode to Devo and things Devo. And anybody who's known me for more than 15 minutes knows that I'm completely gaga when it comes to the De-Evolution band, the 5 Spud Boys from Ohio. Yeah, Devo. My #1 all-time favorite band, concept, artistic statement, Dada, guerrilla activism ever. Guerrilla artistic activism. But first, we already showed you this incredible artifact that came in the mail today. This makes me very happy. Also in the mail today, we got a missive, a strange missive from the Bridge and Tunnel crowd. It's an update about Connecticut highway construction. For some reason, it has a photo of a nubile young lady at a Yugoslavian youth work camp, happily pushing a barrel full of debris. She looks very happy. I'm very happy to get it. That's the kind of sense of humor I love. Cryptic to the max. Thank you, Bridge and Tunnel crowd. Can't wait for the next issue. Also today in the mail, got something really cool from a long-time pal of mine, a customer of the days of yore when Trash American Style was a brick-and-mortar record store, a dude named Alex Anderson. I got his record in the mail today. Alex was an old hardcore kid from New Milford. And he, in fact, recently mail-ordered a couple of records from me, one of which was a copy of the album by Judge, Bringing It Down by Judge, you know, with the crossed hammers and everything. Hardcore to the max. Well, Alex Anderson is now a practitioner of the harp guitar. And he sent me this album, I believe it's his latest. It's called Tree of Life. And it's him playing this really beautiful and arcane instrument called the harp guitar. Here's a picture of him playing it. This is really something else, man. I really enjoyed this very much. Beautiful playing. I have not researched the harp guitar, but it sounds to me like he's playing guitar and using the harp strings as almost like a percussive accent on the bass notes. I'm happy to know that people will prove me either right or wrong in my assertion. That's what it sounded like after one play. But it's really cool. And I love the fact that a New Milford hardcore kid can still maintain his hardcore roots and do something completely, utterly different. It just shows you how completely awesome and diverse the creative urge can be and the places it can take you. And it makes me very happy to be part of this little universe that I inhabit with creative people and people who appreciate creative things. And the fact that I can take my beat-up old Fender Squier guitar and thump out a rudimentary punk rock song and use that as an excuse to go literally all over the country and see many different parts of the world. It's all about the arts, baby, and it's very, very good. So, Alex, thank you so much for the album. And thank you, everybody who sent me mail lately. Just as a friendly reminder, there's my address. P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. It's right there. send me a postcard or something. I'll be happy to mention it here on the air. And I'll be happy to send something back to you. Hey, Stephen Smith. Is it Stephen or Stephen? I never know how to pronounce the name that is spelled Stephen. But Mr. Smith, welcome aboard. A fellow music freak, geek, and absolute nerd of all things musical. My kind of people. Glad you're tuned in. So yeah, man. That's the mail, that's the warm-up. Let's get right down to the meat of the matter, shall we? If the world is my oyster, let's crack that thing open after taking a sip of Walter. All right. Where did it begin? Where did this strange obsession begin? Well, it began, as it has so often, in the pages of Cream magazine. That's right, Cream magazine. I eagerly awaited the new issue of Cream every single month. The drugstore in the disgusting, ugly suburban development that I grew in had a really well-stocked magazine rack. And so I haunted that magazine rack. They had an awesome comic book selection, great paperback books, great magazines, and of course they carried Cream every single month that it came out. And I was an avid reader of Cream from approximately 1976 till about 1981, maybe 82. So right smack dab in the middle of my avid Cream readership, I went down to the local drugstore, and there was, cover dated November of 1978, the latest issue of Cream magazine. And it had the front cover, or the front cover story was about the Who. And is it the Who's farewell? Are the Who gonna hang it up? Are the Who done? How many times have you heard that since 1978? Rhetorical question. But anyway, I bought it because it was Cream, and Cream never lets me down. And as usual, Cream, in their wonderful subversive way, they had the Who on the front cover, but the inside contents were peppered with all kinds of weird outside degenerate stuff. And to this day, I still don't have a copy of that Cream magazine, cover dated November 1978, with the Who on the front cover. So I can't show you what I saw inside of that issue that really changed the course of my life. Now, I wouldn't say that it changed the course of my life, because I would have ended up where I am now anyway. But by seeing this thing in Cream magazine, it got me there a little bit quicker. I think it gave me a shortcut on my path in life. Because leafing through this issue of Cream magazine, November 1978, with the Who on the cover, I saw a full-page ad in garish red, green, and yellow for an album. It said, "Are we not men? We are Devo. The important sound of things falling apart." And it had that great big grinning golfer, not this one exactly, not exactly the one that I got in the mail today. It wasn't Chi-Chi verbatim, but it was a mutation thereof. And, you know, even at that tender young age, I'd seen a couple of bizarre things, but that was bizarre. That was a weird-ass thing, man. I didn't know what to make of that. And I had seen one blurb before in Cream. He was in one of their columns, like of, you know, bubbling under bands and stuff like that. And they mentioned there was this weird group from Ohio. I thought it was pronounced Devo, D-E-V-O. I thought there's this group called Devo, and they wear yellow suits and they play a really weird version of the Rolling Stones' Satisfaction. So when I saw the full-page ad for the album, I was like, oh, yeah, I read about them. Okay, cool. And this looks like something I need. You know, I got a lot of my information, and still do get a lot of my information like that. If it looks like something I need, I'm going to gravitate towards it, and I'm going to do my best to assimilate it. So I patiently bided my time until that weekend, and the family made our weekly trip to the Westland Mall in Hialeah, Florida. That was our usual thing. We'd go to the mall on Sunday. Usually it would be the IHOP for breakfast, where I would get my traditional IHOP breakfast of, dig this, chocolate chip pancakes with chocolate syrup and hot chocolate. Ooh, that was a good wake me up breakfast at the IHOP. That particular breakfast is probably illegal now. I'm sure they're not even allowed to serve a breakfast like that anymore. But chocolate chip pancakes with chocolate syrup and hot chocolate. That got me revved up, dude. So have breakfast at the IHOP, and then go down the road a little bit, down 103rd Street in Hialeah to the Westland Mall. And it would typically be just as the mall was opening. So I'd go first, I would make a beeline to the pinball place. Because if you got there first thing in the morning, when the pinball arcade opened, there would usually be lots of games that still had play on them. Because they would throw everybody out the night before, and not everybody always had a chance to play their games all the way through. And also in those days, pinball was 2 games for a quarter, so people might get to play 1 game, and it was closing time, they'd have to leave, and their game would still be waiting on the machine. So I'd get there as early as I could on Sunday morning and play all the free pinball that I possibly could. Yes, even then, I was like that. So we've had, chocolate chip pancakes and hot chocolate and chocolate syrup and pinball. And once I had exhausted the possibilities of free pinball, it was time to get out of there and go to Specs Music in the Westland Mall. And Specs Music was my go-to record store for a very long time until I discovered the independent record shops. And Specs had a little tiny section. It was probably about that thick. It probably had about 15 or 20 records in it max. They had their little punk rock section. And I would always go right to it because I was discovering punk rock. I'd go right to that section and look through those 10 or 15 or whatever records it was. And the selection usually didn't change very much. But this week, for some reason on this Sunday, this crucial Sunday, I didn't even have to go to the section because it was right there on display. The album I had seen in Cream magazine. This weird, bizarre looking album by the group who I thought was called Devo. But there it was. $6.49. Pretty sure the price was $6.49. I grabbed that thing as quickly as I could, and I practically gave myself pocket burn on the back of my hand, reaching into my pocket to grab that $6.49 plus tax to get this record and take it home, which is exactly what I did. And to make a long story not quite as long, everything about this record bewildered me, confused me, flummoxed me, confounded me. Everything from what was going on with the front cover, why are the song titles on the front, why is the front the same as the back, why does the text look so weird, what is going on with all this, all the stills from their promotional films, what the hell is this? This is like a glimpse into an alien world. And the thing about Devo was that they never explained anything. They never once said to anybody, well, we're playing a role here, and we're playing the part of genetically modified organisms, and the reason that we wear the yellow suits is because these characters that we're playing live in a toxic environment. They never explained any of that. They just gave you this extremely, and here's the word again, cryptic package of bizarre, seemingly disconnected images and lyrics that were certainly not like any lyrics I'd ever heard from the Village People or Foghat or Leonard Skinner or the Bee Gees. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know. And the first time I heard the record, I was just confused. It just didn't sound like anything I'd ever heard before. And I had pretty Catholic taste at the time, All the bands I just mentioned, when you think about it, the Bee Gees don't have very much in common with Leonard Skinner, and Leonard Skinner doesn't have much in common with Foghat, really. And it's like I had pretty wide-ranging taste, but this was something else entirely. And needless to say, whatever latent genetic trigger was waiting to be pulled, it got pulled big time. Frank Zappa, crude sort of guy that he was, wrote a song called G-Spot Tornado. Hearing this Devo record for the first time was my musical and cultural equivalent of experiencing a G-spot tornado. There was no going back. The key had been put in the lock, turned, and the door was open. Wow. And here I am 42 years later, talking to all of you, my frantic fans, loyal listeners, and vibratory viewers about why on earth do I have all these copies of the first Devo album? Why? What's the point of this? Why do I have all these Devo records? It doesn't make any sense. It's not what a sane, rational person would do. But as we know, record collectors are not necessarily sane nor rational. We don't follow the rules of nature. We do what we must do. We follow our genetic imperative, and my genetic imperative is to collect. Remember, that's a key part of the word, record collection, record collector. So I collect these things. And I'm going to tell you right now exactly why I have 14 copies of the first Devo record. And I'm going to give a brief rundown on why every single one of them is important to the collection. But before we do that, I'm going to hold this up for visuals, and I'm going to reach over here and scroll down and see who's tuned in and make sure everybody's getting me right. Hello, Stephen Steffen. Hello, Ted. Hello. Ooh, is that Amariah? Hope I pronounced that right. Xander Drake. Yeah, cool, man. Good to see you guys here. So this is not the actual copy of the record that I bought in 1970. That one, unfortunately, is long gone. I played it to death. You know, I always prided myself on taking care of my records and playing them only on, you know, a good stereo system. Hey, Sophia, shh, don't be the spoiler. I always took great pride in taking care of my records, but I apparently did not, because my first copy of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo practically disintegrated through repeated play and careful study, and, you know, I probably dissected it and put slivers under the microscope, trying to figure out what made this thing tick. Still trying to figure it out. So my original copy is gone, but it's been replaced by these 14 copies. So here you go. Copy number 1. An original U.S. pressing. It's a promo. Note the promo stamp. Warner Brothers at the time had this really cool promo stamp. I really love the way that thing is laid out. It's a masterpiece of graphic design. I hope you guys can see this on my much vaunted or lamented cheap-ass camera. But this is really important because this is one of the very, very, very first copies of the first Devo record to go out into the wiggly world and be seen and be heard. This was the opening shot in the war against the ninnies and the twits that continues to this day. This promo copy went out to some poor schmuck at a newspaper like the Miami Herald maybe, who looked at it and said, nah, and promptly threw it in the trade-in bin where it ended up at the local used record store for $2.99 or whatever. But it's the thought that counts. It's the thought that counts. These promo copies went out in an effort to try to educate and brainwash the brains that needed washing. And this copy is in pretty darn close to mint condition, which I think gives credence to my theory that the chump reviewing music at the Fort Lauderdale Sun-Sentinel or whatever the hell it was took one look at it and said, and got rid of it. But I found my copy. That's copy number 1. The U.S. first pressing promo with that there gold promo stamp. Woo! If I remember correctly, Cream Magazine, when they did review Are We Not Men, We Are Devo, pictured it using the gold promo stamp. That's cool, baby. That's cool. I think Rob Reuter would have said that. That's cool. All right, copy number 2. We're almost 15% of the way there already, just like that. All right, what is copy number 2? I arranged these things in this fashion for a reason. Oh, I know what this is. Oh, copy number 2. This is from our brothers and sisters up north in the great white frozen wilderness of Canada. And I can say that because I'm currently in the great white frozen wilderness of Connecticut, There's not that much of a difference, really. Just a matter of longitude, really. There's that latitude. A mere difference of latitude. It's all great and white, and it's all northern. The Canadian pressing of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo doesn't look like much. Looks like the copy I just showed you. You take out the record from the sleeve, and all right, those of us who are really nutty and obsessive, and those of you who are really nutty and obsessive, you'll see right off the bat, even with my crappy ass camera that I spent $80 on, you can see that the typeface on the label is different. I just keep waiting for Schlugener thing to focus, but it never does. First thing you see is the typeface on the label is different. Okay, for obsessive compulsive collectors, that alone is enough. But that ain't it. There's more to it than that. There's more to it than that. Haha. Because I used to see this advertised in the collector's catalogs that I would send away for. I would read Trouser Press magazine or Cream, and I would always write to the companies in the back who advertised rare collectibles and rare imports and stuff like that. So I was aware of this Canadian pressing, which is on fantastic splatter vinyl. Look at that. Oh, yes. They were not the rarest variant of the Devo album at the time, but they were a little bit hard to find. I never found one until somewhat later, and I didn't have to mail order it. I actually found it in the wild somewhere, maybe at a record show when I was young. But I found this Canadian splatter vinyl pressing of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. And that made me very happy. Of course, this was not enough. It's never enough when you're a collector. Can I hear an amen from all the record collectors out there? Amen! That's not enough. Not enough. No, it's not enough because somewhere along the line I received the intelligence that there was actually another Canadian pressing, same cover, same inner sleeve, and you take it out the sleeve. Well, I'm gonna kind of give this away. I'm gonna try not to. All right, same typeface on the label, but as you can see there, different shade of splatter. Yes, this one's lighter. It's got more purple in it. And it's not really as random as one might think, because I've seen a number of Canadian splatter vinyl Are We Not Men's in the years, and they're pretty much all either this shade or the one I just showed you. They're either lighter and more purple, or they're darker and more blue. So two distinct shades of Canadian splatter vinyl. And there's also a Canadian 7-inch single of Satisfaction pressed on similar vinyl. I think the one I have is more of the blue shade. But it's a, regular 1978 Warner Brothers label with a big hole in this really awesome splatter vinyl. And that was really cool because in the late 1970s, the majors weren't pressing much in the way of colored vinyl. The picture disc craze was pretty much in full swing, but regulation colored vinyl was not really in vogue. So the Canadians were very much ahead of the curve in that regard. So, salute to our northern brethren and sisterns for giving us this wonderful Canadian splatter vinyl. Two variants, of which two were not enough. That's right, there's more. Why have two? Why stop at two when you can have more than two variants of Canadian colored vinyl? I'll tell you that in a second. I'm getting kind of raspy. I just love to drink water, that is. Why stop there? Because when you're a habitué of the record shows like I am, and you're just going through the bins, minding your own business, and I always go straight for D first. That has never changed. That never will change. No matter record show or a record store, it doesn't matter. The first bin I go to is the D bin. I'm hardwired. I have an extra bone in my shin. I got a lot of problems. That's one of them. But because of that problem, because of that onerous handicap, because of that insurmountable difficulty that I shoulder, the burden of which weighs me down every day, I am occasionally uplifted when I go into the Devo section, the D bin of the record store, and I see, oh, look at that. This is a sealed copy. Sealed copy of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. It's got a $10 price tag on it. Well, I'll take that. And then when I go to take it, I see, oh my God, it's also the Canadian pressing with the limited edition collector's item colored vinyl sticker. The hype sticker is still on the shrink. The shrink is still on the record. It's not cut. And I got it for 10 bucks. Man. It's good to be me, baby. It's good to be me. Extra bone in my shin and everything else notwithstanding, all right? My Mexican dentist loves me because I've made him rich because of the teeth I was born with. And that's another story for another day. But I got this for 10 bucks. So I didn't think about my teeth that day at all. Not that day. So yeah, we got 2 different colored vinyl variants and 1 sealed Canadian pressing of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. All right. So now we're making some real good headway here. Those are the first 4 copies. Copy number 5 coming right up. This one I got, and you'll recognize the difference immediately the second that I flash it. But I'm not going to flash it just yet. I'm going to once again use a part of the cover as a teaser. I like to check in every now and then and see who's tuned in and what the comments have to say. Yeah, you guys are digging it, man. This one's going to be really obvious when I pull back, and you'll see exactly why I have this as copy number 5 in my collection. That is, yep, Japanese pressing with the obi. And by the way, it is obi. It's not O-B-I. It's not initials. It is actually the word obi, which in Japanese means belt. Pretty cool, huh? The obi. And my main man, Dennis Highland, if Dennis is watching right now, Dennis from Jackhammer Records, the label which released the latest offering by the band I'm in, the Almighty Anti-Scene. Dennis from Jackhammer Records knows that obies are cool. Obies are something to really geek out over. And Japanese pressing, you know, Japanese pressings are typically, in my experience, identical to the American pressings of albums. The Japanese market closely follows the American market, except for the plethora of Japanese only releases, which I've talked about in the past on Tent Talks Tunes. So you normally wouldn't think about it, but the obi makes it cool, and also the fact that Japanese pressings were always typically of a really, really high quality. Superior mastering, superior pressing, superior vinyl, just superior in every way. And beautiful packaging. And I'm even going to take this out the sleeve because it's in mint condition. And I got this from the great Brass City Records of Waterbury, Connecticut, a long time ago. Brass City, I've talked about Brass City also, one of the great Connecticut independent record stores. Sadly, no longer with us. Unfortunately, Walter, the owner of Brass City, is also not on the planet anymore. But when he was here, I traded him some cool stuff. He had a price tag of $24.95 on this. And so I traded him $25 worth of whatever I had for this Japanese pressing of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. And that is copy number 5 in my collection. Moving right along to copy number 6. What is the difference with number 6? Number 6. Okay, this shows you how far we can go. This shows you how totally ridiculous it gets. It gets absurd. It gets insane. It's the kind of thing that makes you lose sleep at night when you think, A, this thing exists, B, I don't have it, and then later on, C, now I got it, what am I going to do with it? No matter what, you're going to lose sleep over this. You are going to freak out. Is it lose-lose? Is it win-win? I don't know. I just don't know. But I'm doing it. I'm living it, and I'm sharing it with all of you out there, including Neil, and Robopuff Law, and Bill. Are you guys ready for this? Copy number 6. Once again, as usual, it looks, like a regular Devo album, and you turn it over, and it looks like a regular Devo album, a little bit worse for wear. It's got, Same old sleeve. It's got black vinyl. But wait a minute, here we go again. You might have noticed on the back cover a little something, but if you didn't, once again, sheer record collecting geekdom comes into play, and I'm going to try to get the focus on this. You'll notice that once again, the label text is a different typeface. It's got a great big 1 on it where the other versions didn't. My camera sucks. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize for this. But the label typeface is completely different, and I very cleverly hid the distinguishing factor of this record, copy number 6 in the collection. On the back corner, a little tiny sticker that says CRC. What the heck is CRC? That, my friends, is the Columbia Record Club. Yes, this is the Record Club edition. If you were one of those people who sent in your $1.86 to get 25 free albums from Columbia House back then, and you got Are We Not Men, We Are Devo, they would have sent you the Record Club edition, which was manufactured not by Warner Brothers Records, but manufactured by Columbia Records, hence the different typeface on the label. And typically, Record Club records would have the Record Club information printed directly on the cover. Most of the Devo records I've seen from the record clubs had the information printed right there in that spot, whether it was Columbia House or the RCA Music Service. It was printed directly on the cover. For some odd reason, this one has a CRC sticker on it. And I've probably handled 100,000 records in my career as a professional record seller and collector and radio DJ and disposal unit. But I've never seen a Columbia Record Club issue of any record that just had that sticker on it. And so maybe some of you guys out there, if you're as nutty as I am, or you're a member of the Internet Research Team, or Aaron Matthews Williams, are you out there? What's up with this? What's up with this? Why the sticker and why not the printed disclaimer on the jacket? Marvin, do you know? I see Marvin Haywood just tuned in. Marvin, do you know? What's up with the CRC sticker? Why did Columbia House do that? I don't know. I kind of doubt that it's because the records were selling so quickly they couldn't print jackets. It's weird. It's imponderable. It's Devo. That's copy number 6. Copy number 7 coming right up. Oh, this one is I am very, very, very fond of this one. Because I'm a fanboy, I'm a freak and a geek, you know. I'm a collector, I'm marking out for Devo, my #1 favorite band of all time. And, of course, being the collector fanboy that I am, I have to do this whenever I possibly can. Okay, what we got here, record number 7. Yes, once again, it's a U.S. pressing. Same back cover, same inner sleeve, same black vinyl. But this is something I worked pretty hard to get. There's the top. There's the top. There's the top. Oh, there we go. There's the bottom. Yes, we got some autographs on this one. We got the late, great General Boy. We got Bob, too, also late and great. And right there on the throat of the mutated Chi-Chi, we have Jerry Casale. Yes, I'm an autograph hound as well. Yep, I'm a sucker. If I know that any of my idols, heroes, whether they have feet of clay or not, I don't care. I want to get their autograph. And so there's an annual event which, due to the new normal, we did not have this year, called the Devotional. The Devotional is typically held every year in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's the fan gathering of Devo people like myself. And I've met so many great people at the Devotional. I love the event so much. And we typically have a number of guests of honor, actually. Jerry from Devo, one of the co-inventors with Bob Lewis of Devo from Kent, Ohio, has been to almost every single one. And that guy will sit down behind a banquet table, and people will line up all around the room, and he'll sit there and he will sign, and he will sign, and he'll pose for pictures, and he'll sign. One of the most fan-friendly people you will ever meet. So of course I've gotten Jerry to sign, and Bob too showed up at the devotional one year and not only cooked a delicious, awesome banquet for everybody because he was a heck of a cook, he did autograph duty, and General Boy made a few devotionals, including the very first one. So I absolutely got him to sign my copy of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo, and a whole bunch of other stuff. General Boy was so wonderful. General Boy is Bob Mothersbaugh Sr., in case y'all didn't know that. General Boy was so wonderful. Not only did he show up at the first devotional completely unexpected, not only that, but he sat around and he signed autographs and posed for pictures, and he was talking to some guy who was sitting next to me because I had my merch set up, of course, and this guy was from Detroit, and the general was talking to this guy, and he said, well, fella, if you want to come by and see where Mark and Bobby grew up, you're welcome to come by the house. And this guy was like, oh, I'd love to, but I have to go back to Michigan tomorrow. I'm sorry, I don't have the time. I, of course, said, can I come over? And the general said, sure, you can come over. And so he, right there on the spot, took out a sheet of paper and drew me a map of how to get to his home, asked me what time I could be reasonably expected the next day, and said, well, I'll see you then. And so the next day, I drove out. I followed the map. It was an accurate, perfect map, the road map to General Boy's house, and had a lovely afternoon being entertained by the general himself and Mrs. Mothersbaugh. And I got to see the childhood home of all the Mothersbaughs, the organ that Mark learned how to play on. And I mean, it was just fantastic. Just a wonderful, wonderful guy. So another big salute to General Boy and to basically the entire Mothersbaugh family. Everybody I've met from that family has been just really, really nice people. So salute to the really nice people of rock and roll. We could use some more of that. I'm going to drink to them right now. All right. Here's the next one. I think we're up to number 7 now. Am I correct? Who's keeping track? How far am I into this? Is this number 7 or number 8? I don't know. We'll just say number 8 because I think that's what it is. Number 8 is kind of in the same vein. I typically like to get my autographs in person, but every now and again I have actually paid money for an autograph from a third party, and this one I just had to do. This is something I scored, I'm pretty sure, through Goldmine magazine a long time ago. And Goldmine magazine is the premier, preeminent record collectors magazine. And they were they're still around, they're still publishing, and they're still great. But they were a real super force in the music business in the pre-internet age. And I would spend, like, they came out weekly, and I would just every week just pick through the whole thing, reading every single ad, looking for anything I wanted to buy, and stuff I could get from my store, stuff to resell, and of course things to collect. And in one issue, there was an ad for, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it said. It said, autographed Devo album covered with signatures and weird Devo sayings. And the price was $35. And that was a pretty fair chunk of change. This was back in the 90s at some point. And I don't spend $35 on anything. I like to spend money like it's grafted to my hand. That's how much I throw money around. But I was intrigued by this. The description really intrigued me. So I wrote a check out. Remember that? Wrote a check. I wrote a check for $35 and waited 6 to 8 weeks for delivery and got the record in the mail. And it was, as we've probably guessed by now, standard U.S. pressing. Nothing special on the back. But on the front, a full set, and once again, my crappy camera is not going to do this thing justice, a full set of all 5 original members in ballpoint pen autographed this album. And autographed it very early on, too, because anybody who knows Devo autographs knows that Mark typically signs his album. He typically signs Mark O. Devo these days. It's got a very stylized Mark O. Devo autograph. This one is autographed right there in the middle on Chi-Chi's nose, Mark Mothersbaugh. Pretty cool. Autographed there, Biology is Destiny, is autographed Lieutenant Casanova, which is one of Jerry's early pseudonyms. And then over here, saying we're all Devo, instead of the usual autograph that says Bob 2, that says B Devo. Right over there, we got Al Devo. You don't see too many Al autographs. And I guess Bob 1's not on here. No Bob 1. But this is practically the equivalent of these guys signing pseudonyms. Mark Mothersbaugh, Lieutenant Casanova, and B. Devo. Very happy I spent my $35 on this. And theoretically, next time I see Bob 1, hopefully at a devotional sometime soon, I'll get him to add his signature to the front. Or maybe I'll just leave it as is. I mean, because that's an original, genuine period piece. Very cool. That's number 8. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. I'm a DJ when I'm allowed to be, circumstances permitting, at WNHU West Haven, 88.7 on your FM dial. I have not been on the air since the new normal took effect. But when I'm around there, I do my radio show. And as happened so often, one of the past administrations at WNHU, one of the program directors way back when, decided that vinyl was passé, vinyl was from the past, time to get rid of all the vinyl. Which on the one hand is an attitude that makes me vomit. On the other hand, when they decide to get rid of all the library vinyl by selling them for $1 each, I'm like, well, all right, I'll sort of hold the vomit back in and go to the bank and get a wad of $1 bills and help myself. So when WNHU had its big liquidation sale, I took out the $1 bills, and man, I got a Killing Joke test pressing. I got a lot of great stuff. Just really good, solid records, including this, another, believe it or not, another original first pressing U.S. version. It's a promo, as you can see by the promo stamp, but it's also the WNHU library copy with its tracking sticker on it. This thing had been in the WNHU library since the day it was released in 1978, in October of 1978. And it survived everything that a radio station could throw at it between 1978 and 2000, I forget, 2010, 2011, whenever it was that they liquidated the record library. The better part of 35 years, this thing was at WNHU. So if anybody out there on the shoreline ever listened to WNHU and heard something from Are We Not Men, We Are Devo, it was from this record. It was from this very record. And it's got, and I love radio library records because they've got all the different types of identifying marks. Nobody even knows what this blue sticker meant at one time, you know? Nobody knows what these stickers meant or what the number meant or anything. It doesn't have a cue sheet in it, but you can see it was played so much that it's got complete splitting on the seam. Jackets all taped together. The record, believe it or not, it's got the WNHU sticker on it, property of WNHU. Not anymore. I paid $1 for it. You know, and the record is actually not in bad shape. A lot of times when you go through library records from radio stations, they're just wicked. But this one is actually in pretty decent shape. They played it to death, but they took good care of it. And, you know, I'm sure the $1 I spent went to some good cause at WNHU. I don't know what, but I got the record. Leslie says, weird clicking noise. Is that in reference to Devo or something else? I need to know. I need clarification here. With this new camera, I wouldn't be surprised. Anything is possible. I think this new camera might not last long if it's making weird. Is it making weird clicking noises? What's going on? There's nothing vibrating here. I'm just sitting here. The cat's in the next room. I'm not wiggling. What's it doing? I'll drink while somebody tells me. Okay, Brandon Yeetai, the hardest working man in show business. Okay, it stopped. Good. Next to the band he works for, the Almighty Anti-Scene, and my mentor, Leslie Wimmer, all say that the clicking noise is gone. Good. That means I don't have to take drastic action. It's been a long time since I've flown into a blind rage and taken a camera and smashed it to little tiny bits live on the internet. It's been quite a while. And I would hate to take an $80 camera and turn it into a hammer. Because you can get a hammer a lot cheaper than 80 bucks. So no clicking, no problem. Number 10. We ready for number 10? Number 10 out of 14. Here's copy number 10. You people have probably heard me rant and rage and rail and rave about how much I hate Record Store Day and what a total scam it is and how I call it Record Scam Day. And yes, I'm an absolute supporter of independent record stores. And if the independent record stores can do well on Record Store Day, more power to you. Please do. But the machinations and the structure of Record Store Day, as the major labels have turned it into a cash grab for themselves, fuck that. Fuck you, Warner Brothers, and your $15 Kinks EP. You know, and your stupid, bogus Peter Tosh records that are nothing more than an advertisement for some upcoming reissue times 55 at an exorbitant price. Fuck that. What's going on here? Okay, people are saying that the camera appears to make a clicking noise when it zooms. All right. All right. Duly noted. It's time for new. I've had this camera for 3 weeks. Maybe I can still return it. Because 80 bucks, for 80 bucks, I want performance. You know what I mean? So anyway, I love independent record stores. I'm an independent record store. But I hate the corporate greed that has infused Record Store Day. And I normally won't go near it. But, you know, I'm such a freak and geek and a nerd and a weirdo that when it comes to Devo, and when there is actually an aesthetically pleasing Record Store Day release, like this picture disc of Are We Not Men? We Are Devo. Yeah, I put my money down. I put my money down. This is just such a beautifully executed package. And I always thought that that should be a picture disc. Since the moment I first saw it, I thought someone's got to make a picture disc of this. And it took them 40, I think this is 2018 maybe. Don't know exactly. It's from a few years ago. But yeah, it took almost 40 years. Almost 40 years, but they did make a picture disc of it, and the package is just gorgeous. So, my sourness towards Record Store Day notwithstanding, I've been known to participate as a consumer occasionally with just a minimum of buyer's remorse. Just a minimum. That's number 10. Number 11, I talked about how amazing it was to have a first pressing U.S. promo copy, because that was the first one to go out into the world and spread the word of Devo on that sort of major label corporate level. How cool is it to have something that preceded that? In the manufacturing process, as some of you guys may or may not know, before a record actually is pressed for consumption and hits the market, it undergoes a number of processes, one of which is the test pressing. And we're going to see if this thing zooms, and if it makes clicking noises when it tries to zoom in on the label, let me know, eh? Test pressing of the first Devo album. Probably from about September 1978. probably from about a month before it was actually released. Yeah, this camera sucks. This camera sucks. But that is the test pressing. Completely generic label from the pressing plant. And no cover art whatsoever. Comes in a blank white sleeve with the catalog number on it, BSK3239. And a very basic generic sheet of information. Album title, artist, track number, track listing, track titles, contact information. Just the absolute most bare bones, basic data required for the record company people, the band people, for management people to give it a listen, to know what they're listening to, and then give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down for release. Once the test pressing is approved, the regular record is made. And these things are rare as hell. They typically don't make too many of them. Sometimes the record companies will use them as promos. There used to be this record company in New York called Dutch East India, who are well-known rip-off artists and scammers in their own right. But they would make test pressings and use them as promos. And I liked that a lot because I would open up a box from Dutch East India, and quite often there'd be these test pressings in there that they would just use as promos, and I loved that. And by the way, I can denounce Dutch East India as being scammers rip-offs because they ripped me off, or at least they tried to. They tried so hard not to pay me for records of mine that they sold. They went out of their way not to pay me. I had to blackmail them before they finally paid me. And you can ask anybody who ever worked with Dutch East India, the story remains the same. When they went out of business, I did not shed a tear at all. No handkerchief necessary when Dutch East India bit the dust. And believe me, there's a lot of people out there who have that same sentiment. So I drink a toast to the death of Dutch East India. I just hope they didn't owe you money when they went under. Number 11. Yeah, we're getting into, we started with the test pressing, it's getting a little more exotic here. Number 11, I used to see these around a lot when I was a kid. The UK picture disc. Kind of self-explanatory. You might wonder, well, it looks awfully different. That's because when we get into numbers 12 and 13, let's see, what's the best one to show you? One reason why it was so much fun to collect Devo records was that quite often the overseas version of the album had a completely different cover, and I got the reflections and all that. The overseas pressing had a different cover from the American pressing. And Jerry was asked by that, and he said he just thought that different images would market better in Europe than they would in America. So the first album, Are We Not Men? The second album, Duty Now for the Future, and the fourth album, New Traditionalists, all had completely different cover art between the US and the UK. And then, of course, you get into the picture disc, and the picture disc came with a bonus flexi, the infamous flimsy wrap, which does not have one complete song on it. It's just a basic, it's just the sound of a DJ waxing rhapsodic in between the main set and the encore of a Devo performance. It's just a DJ talking with a bunch of people screaming. Makes no sense. And I asked Jerry, well, why'd you do this? He said, well, we thought it would be funny. All right. Haha. Cryptic. Remember I said that before? Cryptic. So that's the UK picture disc, which comes with the flimsy wrap. The letter from the desk of General Boy, featuring more of that just wonderful cryptic Devo philosophy, in which they don't explain anything. They make grand statements but explain nothing. And the actual picture disc vinyl. Picture disc vinyl can be kind of dodgy sometimes in terms of sound quality, but this actually sounds really good. There's a really good pressing. Sounds great. Just about as good as a regular vinyl pressing. And that actually kind of takes care of it because I just showed you the remaining copies, which are all variants of the UK pressing, which were pressed on a whole bunch of different colors. I think like something like 9, 10 different colors. Notice it's on Virgin Records rather than Warner Brothers. There is one hell of a story behind that, if you guys want to research it, as to why they were on Virgin in Europe and on Warner Brothers in the UK. Oh, it's funny. But they pressed Are We Not Men in Europe on like 9 different colors. And I'm not so far gone as to try to collect all 9 of them. 2 giant posters came with it. Beautiful, beautiful pressing. Beautiful packaging. So that's the remaining copies of Are We Not Men. But the story's not quite done yet. I have one last little bit to add to the story. I got 14 different copies of Are We Not Men. And I'm very task-oriented. They might ask the question, are we not men? I ask the question, what the hell do you do, really, honestly, pragmatically, with 14 different copies of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo? What do you do with 14 different copies? You put them to use. You put them to use. How do you put them to use? I'll tell you, got a little bit of backstory here. The backstory goes to what is in my opinion, the best record show ever. That is the WFMU Record Fair, which is held in Brooklyn now. Once again, conditions permitting, the WFMU Record Fair is fantastic. I find it very hard to walk out of there empty-handed. I sell there. It's just the best for networking, for shopping, for selling. The best. And one time I was there. There was a guy set up behind a table, and he had this really weird-looking record he was selling. It looked like a total mess. It's a mess. It looks horrible. And I always check things like this out, because FMU is really cool that way. There's a lot of independent labels there and a lot of independent artists, and they're selling their releases. So I always take a look at what they are. And this guy handed me a card. It said, "We buy white albums." Turns out that this guy, his name is Rutherford Chang. Rutherford Chang has got an art installation, which in a nutshell is a record store that sells nothing but Beatles white albums. And he only wants original numbered white albums. And he's got the thing set up like a record store with divider cards for all the numbers. And his hypothesis, and the poster that came with the album, is that every single white album ends up being a canvas, and they all end up being not white. It's a fantastic concept. And the record that he pressed was 100 of the Beatles White Album covers all mashed up into one. That includes cover art and images and the sound of 100 Beatles White Albums playing simultaneously. I loved that concept. Loved it. So it made me think. I don't have 100 white albums, but I do have 14 copies of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. What would happen if, using modern technology, I created the sound of all 14 of them playing simultaneously? What would that be like? What would that be like? I was also influenced by the Talking Heads, more songs about buildings and food. I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame once and was gobsmacked when I turned the corner and saw the album cover of the Talking Heads, more songs about buildings and food. But it was huge. It was like 10 by 10. Gigantic. And when you went up, you looked and saw it was made out of individual Polaroid photos. And the way they had done it was they took a stationary Polaroid camera mounted so they could move up and down and then back and forth. And they took Polaroid photos of each segment of each band member's body and then put them together into this collage. And because the Polaroid camera is such an imprecise and imperfect tool, every picture came out differently. Different exposure, different focus, different zoom, even though they had it on a fixed holder, so none of those variants should have been there. There were tons of variants, and the result was like this amazing looking group portrait. So I thought, okay, I got 14 Devo albums. What if I play them all on a Newmark portable turntable, which is sort of the turntable equivalent of a Polaroid camera? Yes, it supposedly turns at 33 1/3 RPM, but it's not the most accurate machine in the world. I'll try to make it accurate. I'll make sure that before I record each album, the pitch is adjusted so the record's playing at the same speed. Using recording programs where I can graphically line the tracks up. I can line each track up so it starts at the exact same spot. The album begins with a click, and then the first song begins. So I was able to line up the first drum click on each track so they lined up perfectly on the 14 recordings of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. So I lined them up, made sure they were exactly lined up, and then I smushed them all into one single file. The sound of 14 Devo albums playing simultaneously. And I'll tell you this, and Sophia, if you're still tuned in right now, you can vouch for this. Anybody else? Nick, Scott Orsi, anybody who's there at the devotional this year can tell you. This is what happened. The organizer of devotional, Nick Chasulo, who's a real good guy, allowed me to have a few minutes on stage to explain what I had done. And then the DJ had a CD of my Devo collage of 14 albums playing simultaneously, and pressed the play button. By the time that side one was over, people were either demanding that it be turned off, or they were laughing heartily, or they were just going, what? No matter what, people either hated it or they loved it. All I know is that I sold every single copy of the CD I made that day. You guessed it. This one right here. It's called My Devolved Record Collection. And this is the sound of 14 copies of Are We Not Men, We Are Devo playing simultaneously, and 8 copies of New Traditionalists playing simultaneously. And pictured on the front are the spines of every record I just showed you. And there's the rest of the spines. Yes, if I showed you all those records sideways, it would look like that. So it's gotten very strong reactions. I still to this day have not played it for anybody in Devo, but I've played it for people who are close to Devo, and they all loved it. They'll say, oh man, Mark's got to hear this. Or, oh, Jerry would love this. Or Bob would think this was funny. Awesome. To me, that's an endorsement. So if you guys want to hear the product of my magnificent obsession, with thanks to Rutherford Chang and thanks to the Talking Heads, if you guys want to hear the sound of these 14 Devo records played simultaneously, all you got to do is hit me up in person. I got it on CD. I got it on cassette. If you're the type who likes to go online, look it up on Discogs and eBay. My Devolved Record Collection. TPOS number 193. You won't be able to see it, but that's the catalog number. TPOS 193. The artist name is Fried Man. Fried Man. That's my noise-making pseudonym. TPOS 193. The important sound of 14 Devo records playing simultaneously and falling apart. Words can't describe it. Ted, hit me up. You know I'll hook you up. And so that wraps up this week's episode of 10 Talks Tunes. 14 copies of the first Devo record. And maybe in the future I'll talk about all my different copies of Duty Now for the Future, and all my copies of New Traditionalists, and all my copies of Freedom of Choice, and all my copies of Shout. I might talk about something else completely different. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun talking about it. It's always great to see everybody out there and chit and chat and geek out over records and music and musicians and the things that drive us, man. The music and the art that make us what we are. Always very, very happy to do that. This show will be on my Facebook page. Look me up. It's going to be on my YouTube channel, Malcolm Tent. So if you missed it or just want to watch it again, it'll be there. It'll be uploaded on YouTube in a little while tonight, and it'll be on my Facebook page forever in perpetuity. So thanks. Thanks as always for tuning in and letting me do this and for being a part of it. Really enjoy it. Really glad to have you guys here. I do indeed hope to be back in about 167 hours. So until we meet again, on behalf of old Chi-Chi himself, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.